This week, we heard something extraordinary. Not from a whistleblower, not from a watchdog agency, not even from a frustrated citizen on the street. No, this came from the President of the Republic, the head of the executive, the Commander-in-Chief. He told us openly that members of Parliament are extorting members of his own government, that some MPs demand payment to write favourable committee reports or simply to look the other way during parliamentary inquiries. Think about that for a moment. This is not just a claim. This is a confirmation from the highest political office in the land that corruption isn't just alive, but it's thriving in our parliament. And when the President himself says it, it moves from rumour to record, from suspicion to official acknowledgement. And with that acknowledgement comes a responsibility to act. So here's the question that every Kenyan should be asking. What next? Name them. Which MP? Which committee? Which member of the executive was coerced or paid up?
I want us to talk about this issue of corruption because that is one of the major things that is really affecting or is really eating our country. Corruption everywhere. Everywhere you go is all about corruption, and I want to connect it with what happened during the news gang, whereby we had got Jamila, we had got Bonyo, and we had got Yvon Okwara. Yesterday we missed Kai and also Sam Bituku. But the three of them really discussed a lot of things concerning this issue of corruption, and that is why I've decided to bring it. But now I want to break it into sections because it's not all about corruption. I want to break it into sections in every segment, whereby we have to listen to what Okwara said, Obonyo said, and also Jamila said. But before that, on August 13th, that is this year, while opening the 9th Devolution Conference in Homa Bay County, Mr. President William Samoei Ruto specifically criticized the judiciary for extending anticipatory bail protections that in his view, he was saying that they shield corrupt individuals from arrest and prosecution. He went ahead and described this legal loophole as something that allows corrupt actors to evade justice, and implemented impediment to Kenyans' anti-corruption efforts. He also said that he asked the judiciary not to be a haven for the corrupt to hide behind judicial decisions.
I also want to ask the judiciary not to be a haven for the corrupt to hide behind judicial decisions. We have innovation that is only available in Kenya that allows a corrupt person or somebody who has stolen public resources or somebody in breach of law not to be prosecuted. Something called anticipatory bail. It is a Kenyan innovation that takes us backwards. Just let's ask ourselves, somebody who has stolen public funds and then goes to court and gets something called anticipatory bail, makes it impossible for such a person to be arrested and prosecuted endlessly. How does that support the fight against corruption? This is a matter I hope our friends in the judiciary would help us answer.
But then, there is something that the president is forgetting. In as much as you are trying to blame the judiciary, you ask yourself where you are, because all these things are happening. All these things, the way they're happening, you must play a part in it. There must be a role that you're playing in it. Why am I saying this? I want us to remember this thing. You know, the issue of the judiciary, because it's trying to blame the judiciary and also the legislature. Blaming the judiciary Simply because they're protecting. Remember the president of the LSK, that is Faith. Faith once said when she was being interviewed, she said that somebody is normally not guilty. Somebody is normally innocent until proven guilty, and everybody has got a right to defend themselves. Kila mtu akona, everybody has a right to defend. Everybody must defend themselves. If you feel like this case is not going the way you want, or maybe you need to be defended, there must be somebody to defend you. You must find a lawyer. You must look for a lawyer. There is no way of rushing with someone's case without the person defending himself. You must bring someone who can defend so that we hear you out. There is no need of just rushing to make decisions without giving somebody a chance. Now, when somebody is given chance and maybe the judge finds that this person is not guilty, that there is a bond, or this person can be set free, but with a certain maybe money or something. But then somebody was asking me one day that when these judges decides a case, where do this money goes to? Where does this money go to? I've never known where this money goes to. But I think it's normally taken to the judiciary to do the judicial works and all that in the offices. But I don't want to get into that because that is not what I was talking about. What I was talking about is this issue of William Ruto talking about the judiciary and the legislature. Now, I want us to narrow it down to the legislature because the judiciary, we all know what is happening. Now, I want to open our eyes on the issue of the legislatures, whereby we have got the members of parliament, the senators, the governors. We remember during the time that Rigathi Gachagua was being impeached, all members of parliament, almost all of them were paid. And in fact, they came out clearly and said that William Ruto paid them to make sure that Rigathi Gachagua is impeached. Right now, is trying to put the blame on the legislature.
There is something going on in our legislature that we must call out. There is money being demanded from the executive, from governors, from ministers, from people in the executive, especially those who go for accountability before our houses of parliament. Mr. Speaker, it cannot continue to be business as usual. It is not possible that committees of parliament demand to be bribed, demand to be paid for them to write reports or to look the other way for what is happening in either the national government or the county governments. All of us must act together. The fight against corruption must be an all of society engagement and exercise and effort.
You know, one thing I realized with William Ruto's speech in Homa Bay, the whole of time that he was speaking in Homa Bay, he really wanted to paint other people like he's clean. He wants to pretend as if now he's very clean, that other people are watu ndio wabaya. That is his target. Like, hawa watu ni wabaya. Mimi mwenyewe mkiniangalia, mimi sina shida. I have no problem. I'm very clean. So these are the kind of things that we're supposed to prevent. How are we going to prevent all these things? By the president himself taking action. Of course, you've said that all these things are supposed to stop and all that. But the big question that we need to ask is who is the owner of corruption in the country? Who is the owner of corruption? How comes someone will be spending 500 million every day just to bribe people? According to Rigathi Gachagua's statement, that Ruto normally uses 500 million every single day to bribe people, to lure people, or maybe to try and bring people to support him. Who uses 500 million on a daily basis? Now, Yvon Okwara is talking about this issue of corruption, which I want us to listen to before I come back so that we can continue with the discussion. Let us listen to her.
This week, we had something extraordinary. Not from a whistleblower, not from a watchdog agency, not even from a frustrated citizen on the street. No, this came from the President of the Republic, the head of the executive, the Commander-in-Chief. He told us openly that members of Parliament are extorting members of his own government, that some MPs demand payment to write favourable committee reports or simply to look the other way during parliamentary inquiries. Think about that for a moment. This is not just a claim. This is a confirmation from the highest political office in the land that corruption isn't just alive, but it's thriving in our parliament. And when the president himself says it, it moves from rumour to record, from suspicion to official acknowledgement. And with that acknowledgement comes a responsibility to act. So here is the question that every Kenyan should be asking. What next? Name them. Which MP? Which committee? Which member of the executive was coerced or paid up? How much money was paid? I mean, what is the going rate of corruption in this country? And who in Parliament is abusing their position to turn oversight into a shakedown? And then tell us, what will you, the President, as party leader of UDA and the Kenya Kwanza coalition, which now includes opposition MPs in its broad-based arrangement, do about it? What will you, the President, as head of the executive, do to clean up your own government? Because corruption does not die in the shadows. It thrives there. And silence after such a bold accusation becomes complicity. We, the people, are already paying the salaries of both the executive and the legislature. Now, if there is money changing hands to look away, then we're being billed twice, once for the job and again for the refusal to do it. You see, it's not enough to simply drop this kind of allegation in passing, without names and without consequences. That is not leadership. It is political theatre. It is saying just enough to sound bold, but not enough to change anything. Mr. President, you've already broken the silence. Now, break the cycle. Show us that the fight against corruption is more than a headline. Prove that integrity can still mean something in public office. Because in the end, history will not remember the speeches we made about corruption. It will remember whether we were brave enough to name it and bold enough to end it. And if we can't, well, then perhaps the only thing we're truly good at naming in this country is each other's faults.
Now, getting into the issue of, getting into another, Bonyo is also talking about the issue of the governors, enjoying themselves in Homa Bay, eating fish, doing all that needs to be done, or maybe what they were planning, or what they plan to do during the Devolution conference. But the question that we also need to ask ourselves is that as these governors enjoy themselves, the people that they lead, are they also enjoying them? I was surprised seeing the governor's office, Gladys Wanga's office in Homa Bay, and then compared it with one of the schools around. And I was like, why would these people just focus on building their offices and not even not even caring about the schools around them? The children, the schools are like hell. Yet you are building. It's like you're building your palace, and I don't know why are these people so much obsessed with this issue of White House. Every place they want to make every county. They want to build a White House in every county. It's not bad to build it is not bad to build an office, but before building an office, what are you really doing? What is it that you're doing for the people that you're leading, for the people that you are governing? What are you doing to them? I want us to listen to Bonyo before we continue the discussion.
Tonight, I pick a bone with our 47 county governors who are right now in Homa Bay County, making merry and celebrating, tongue-in-cheek, the successes of devolution. 12 years later, ordinary Kenyans should be dancing too, joining their governors along the lectures for a jubilant Ajawa. Instead, the only rhythm they know is the pounding echo of poor services. As governors feast on ngege, mbuta, traditional vegetables and mountains of millet ugali in a bid to keep a healthy lifestyle, overlooking the serene Lake Victoria, back home, their counties are bleeding, healthcare is in shambles, patients are dying of treatable illnesses. In Machakos County, for example, nurses continue to stay away from health facilities as disease and death adds to their burden of below-par service already being experienced. Their grievances include promotions, salaries, and working conditions. The nurses insist they will not return to work until the county honors its commitments. In Kiambu County, members of the National Assembly have moved in to try and sweet-talk healthcare workers out of their 80 days and counting strike. Next week, the doctor says they will amplify it with street protest. In Migori County, the nurses continued their strike, even as the county executive played host to President William Ruto today. This, the nurses say, they are already being threatened and harassed by the county in as much as the strike is protected. Honestly, that is harassing them. It is not service delivery. Counties executives have sponsored this neglect, and it's not just in healthcare. County staff go for months without pay. Excuses flying faster than solutions. Yes, the Treasury delayed the funds, you say, but that excuse has become your favorite shield for incompetency. Just days ago, Kisumu County appealed to staff to give them more time to sort out salary delays. In Nairobi County, the executive is blaming rejection of supplementary budgets by the Office of the Controller Budget. Meanwhile, rent is due, bills are piling, and workers are drowning in debt. Yet here we are, another devolution conference, another round of speeches, gala dinners, selfies, and glittering social media posts. Management by clicks is what I call it. Counties dressed up for Instagram and TikTok while reality rots behind the filter. I will call this for what it is, tone-deaf political theater. If this is the success you are celebrating in Homa Bay, then you are celebrating the funeral of public trust. Governors, running a county is not about the fleet of SUVs and VIP tents or acting small gods. It's about leadership. It's about fixing the mess. It's about making sure that the cog that turns the wheels, your people, are motivated, paid, and protected. After 11 of these conferences, if you're still discussing the basics, then you have failed. This is not 2013 anymore. This is now. Do better. Anything else is a lie. To yourselves, to your staff, and to the hundreds of Kenyans who trusted you with their vote. That is my bond tonight.
And lastly, this one now goes to our funds, the Harambee Stars funds. Jamila is picking bone with the funds. Now, one thing I have to say is that the fine given to Kenya by the CAF, because of our own indiscipline cases during the games of our brothers Harambee Stars, which we could have prevented, and can still do that, by the way. We can still do that. We can still prevent that, because remember now our brothers have qualified. They've already qualified. Whether they win the Sunday's game or not, they already qualified to the quarterfinals. But then, how are we going to make sure that all games are played in the country? Because it is now clear that if there will be any misbehavior, then our players will go to play either in Uganda or Tanzania. Why can't we do this? Because why can't we just try and give our brothers a conducive environment, a very peaceful environment where they can play, seeing their fans? You know, there's nothing as good as playing while being watched by your own people. And I gave a calculation here. Like, let's say, for instance, a receipt, maybe a ticket of getting into Kasarani or Nyayo Stadium. Let's calculate. Let's give it roughly 1,000 shillings. That is a ticket of getting in. I know it's less than that, but let me just give it with that. 1,000 shillings. Now, you take 1,000 shillings, pengine you're staying within Kasarani, and then you pay your 1,000 shillings umeingia without any transport. that is in the country. And then, because of other people's misbehaviors, Kenya wanaambiwa kwamba you are going to play in Tanzania. How many Kenyans can afford that transport fee yenye unatoa Kenya inapeleka Tanzania? You have to pay hotel, you have to pay for what you eat, you have to pay everything in Tanzania. Are you seeing that? So as I wind up, let us just try and give our brothers a conducive environment. An environment that they can enjoy, an environment where they can play without pressure, they can play without, questions, they can play without that's pressure. Let it just be the way they started it. So I want us to listen to Jamila the way she's speaking before I come back so that we can finish up.
Wakenya, hebu njooni tuzungumze kihom. We have just been fined by CAF, and for more than one reason. Fans jumping over walls, security officials not performing their duties well, crowd control gone wrong, and now a warning. If this happens again, Kenya's home matches could be moved to other countries. Imagine that, being told we cannot host our own games because we can't keep order. And this isn't just about football. It's about who we are. It's about habits. The truth is, what happened in Kasarani is not new. It is exactly what we do in our daily lives. For instance, it is the same culture we've perfected on the roads. Overlapping during traffic jams, pushing ahead only to stop a few meters later, using sirens when we don't need them, refusing to queue for services, always trying to get ahead, even when there's nowhere to go. If you're not careful, these bad manners will become part of our national character. We'll start from the point of hawana nidhamu, and that will be how the world sees us. Nidhamu starts with the small things. Following a queue, waiting patiently, respecting the rails that are put there to guide you, not to slow you down. These measures exist so we can accommodate more people, more efficiently, without chaos. Even in airport queues, the airport queues are there to help everyone move smoothly. Why do you think we are special enough to jump them? That same impatience and entitlement is what we carried into the stadium, dear Kenyans. Instead of respecting order, we forced our way in. And then we ask why CAF is fining us. If there was a traffic equivalent of CAF, Kenya would have been fined millions already. Our roads are chaotic. Our stadiums have now inherited that chaos. And if we keep this up, AFCON, which will be bigger, louder, and more intense, could turn into a national embarrassment. The sad part is, even our leaders are guilty. The same ones being lectured by CAF are the ones who arrive at work after driving on the wrong lane, using sirens unnecessarily, and ignoring queues. We're slowly becoming a nation that believes in using kifua, or brute force for everything. If we want to be taken seriously as hosts, if we want to avoid more fines, and if we want to keep our home matches in Kenya, we must go back to the basics. Let us start with the simple things. Patiently waiting in line, respecting systems, following the rules meant for all of us. Believe me, things will move faster. People will be safer, and we will avoid the shame of being blacklisted. Good manners cost nothing, but their absence is now costing us millions and a piece of our national dignity. Basi si tufanye hivyo. Ama vipi? And that is my memo.
Now, fellow Kenyans, personally, as I wind up, I want to say this, that let us try as much as we can to maintain peace during this time that our players are going to play. But on the other hand, our governors, our senators, and our members of parliament must also style up, because you can't tell me that you'll be given bribe every day by the president himself, and then the person by the executive, by the president himself, and then the executive is coming to blame the judiciary or the legislature. You know, there is no way you can blame people that you're trying to bribe. You know, one thing that I learned with William Ruto is like he wants to put the judiciary under his pocket. Now, after putting the judiciary under his pocket, whereby whatever he says is what the judiciary does, or maybe that what he wants is what he's expecting the judiciary to do. So when the judiciary decides to stand on their own, like when Martha Koome comes and says that we don't want bribe, so that is another problem, a very big problem, and is making William Ruto furious, because these guys cannot do what he wants. Because anajaribu kuangalia nikienda legislature, already the members of parliament and the senators they're in my pocket. Whatever I say is what it should be done. Now the problem that I have is I have the problem with the judiciary. Now this judiciary is being led by Martha Koome, and that is why you remember there's a time that William Ruto was really pressurizing Martha Koome to be impeached, or Martha Koome to vacate the office. Why? Because he knew that this woman will not do what I say. And that is why right now sasa lazima angalie blame, aeke blame kwa kila mtu, kila place, every court of government, court of arm, lazima ambie legislatures nyinyi hapa mmefanya vibaya, and then the judiciary hapa, without looking at him as the head of the executive. You just execute. Your work is execute. Don't put pressure on other people. Don't put pressure on the legislatures. Don't pay them to impeach other national leaders, and then you're coming to say that they were corrupt. Let us stop this nonsense. After all, guys, that is just my thought, and that is all I have for now. Let me know what you think at the comment section. Don't forget to drop me a comment, tell me what you think, and where you are watching this video from. Until we meet again, I have been your host, Boniface Abeno. Big.